right, just to bring you up to speed, while we're engulfed in the issues around the Senate, issues around reverse politics and all of that, the budget was assented to. Now the tax reform bill has now been adopted by the House of Representatives. The committee has presented it. Joining us to break a few things and highlight of what was adjusted in that particular bill, 4 of them, just different parts of it, is the chief economist at SPM Professionals, Dr. Paul Alaje. Dr. Alaje, thank you so much for coming on the program.
Thank you very much for having a beautiful evening to you and those watching us across the world.
All right, Dr. Alaje, I want to go step by step. So my producer is going to put up some of the slides that we got ready before the show, just a few of them, some modifications to the tax bill. Now, one of the things that was proposed by the presidency was some form of a staggered incremental VAT, a value-added tax, which is at 7.5%. It was supposed to be increased sequentially, staggered, I think, until 2030, which will get to about 13 or 12 or 15%. But by what the House has done, they said they are retaining it as 7.5. So tell us what this means for consumers as well as businesses.
Okay, first of all, I must say it's a big congratulations to Nigeria regarding the adoption of the tax bill by the rep, because this will make Nigeria to depart from the old laws even before independence. Apart from this, there are some very good things in the tax bill by the House of Representatives. So I want to say kudos to them. I must also say kudos to the committee for very good work they've done, including Mr. Taiwo Oyedele. And of course, most importantly, to the president of our country, President Tinubu, for considering it and thinking it's important for us to consider the tax bill. I am mostly happy that the House of Representatives did not just consider which party has majority in the House or which one has minority. As professionals, we've continued to maintain that 7.5% VAT should not be increased by 0.01%, which is what we saw today, that the committee, as mentioned by Mr. Faleke, Honorable Faleke, I beg your pardon, when he was giving his report. It's important for us to know that as we go through interesting time in our economy, we don't suddenly or abruptly increase VAT for now. And that is what I mentioned speaking with you and your colleague, Mr. Kimbaloye, over and over again, that we should not throw away the baby and the bathwater. Things that need to be amended in the bill should be amended because there are so many other things, including multiple taxation, that we need to get rid of. As an active player in the economy and as an economic watcher, I think it's a good development that this is done. Listen. If you pass VAT the way it was recommended, you'll be faced with higher inflation. Recall that inflation was over 34%, even though we adjusted the parameter to bring it down to about 24%. This is an outlier in economics, and it does not have direct impact on price as it is. We score it as a 0 at that particular point in time. So we are passing this, and we are not to the bill. You know, the chairman of the commission have said, we are not presenting a perfect bill because no human is perfect, but we are presenting a very good bill, which I completely agree on. And this amendment are most important, and we must commend the House of Representatives for considering this, and they did not allow it to elude them. I think it's a good one this moment today.
A great one. Let's talk about some other things. There'll be some of the modifications. We're going to be rolling it on the screen as you speak. But there are also that modification where it says that the banks must file tax returns above 5 million naira for individuals and 115 million to 200 million naira by companies. I want you to explain what that means for those who are not familiar with that particular provision. There are other things. That's why I said we'll take it one by one so that Nigerians will be able to understand what this means for them.
Okay, so if you have done a transaction, what the amount that is said, it's important that those VAT are properly returned to appropriate authority. After all, VAT is not your money. It's the money that has been collected on the behalf of government. So for those who have corporate that are functional and you have interacted with FRS, you would have been lectured that you charge VAT, essentially if what you service you provide or good you sell is not VAT exempt. So if you are not exempted, it is not part of your cost. It is additional. As of Nigeria today, it is 7.5%. That 7.5% is to be, you are only collecting on behalf of government. So you are not the one that is paying it. It is a consumption tax. People that are consuming must have paid you, and you can see the bank must file VAT return above 5 million for individuals, and individuals at 150 million. So it becomes easy. In cases where you think you don't want to file the VAT, then it is government has mandated, this bill is mandating to file perhaps on your behalf. But if you have will be the case going forward, organizations, I don't know if that is what.
We couldn't get everything you're saying, but at least we were able to pick certain.
Bank, we need to file part of our revenue as it is. Mr. Jeffrey.
Yes, so there are other parts, again, I would like you to speak to before I ask you generally and some of the things that people should be prepared for. And that has to do with the approvals that will now be, it will have to go through the National Assembly, which is referred to here as the Parliament, for the President to be able to give some level of tax exemption, because I know that they had aggregated some of these exemptions and credits or some form of incentive to companies, and they aggregated it about, I think, 6 trillion at some point. That is the money the government is literally more like an opportunity cost to do a few things. I want you to speak to it with reference to issues around bureaucracy and allowing the executive to do things with a level of speed that is required to do, because now the Parliament must approve before those tax exemptions are granted, at least from what we have read so far.
Well, you see, it's a very dicey situation, because giving this solely to the president to approve is also very worrisome. The reason is because there may be political affiliation, members of the same political party, relatives, associates, friends, of whosoever is the president per time. That is the worry private sector and private community signaled when included. Was the intention correct? Yes. But who knows who will be the president tomorrow? Who knows who will be the president after tomorrow's president? We don't know. That is why it's important. Nigerians elected their leaders, the president. They also elected legislature to checkmate the activity of the executive. So for now, while we are starting this new terrain, let legislature act as an eye that is watching what the executive will do. This was also part of the recommendation we made in written, and also on my X page, that's on Twitter, that I don't think the president alone should be the one to consider it, because we might have a very good president today, open heart, enterprising, want things to go, but who knows who will be the president tomorrow? You have known the history of Nigeria, how people have always believed that presidents prefer to give things to their clanmen, and I'm not talking of this president or past president. Over the years, I remember when President Jonathan was in office, some Southwesterners complained that they were excluded. When President Buhari was in office, it was said that the Igbos were excluded. President Tinubu is in office. Some persons are also saying they're excluded. So to serve as watchdog, one thing, when it goes to the National Assembly, Nigeria will even have opportunity to know who is getting this exempt. What value are they bringing? Is it based on innovation that they are bringing to, and so on and so forth? My only concern is just that when it goes to the National Assembly, I hope that will not increase the cost of getting the approval. Please say what I mean by cost of approval when it gets to that level.
Exactly the concern that some people may be raising eyebrows over. But also speak to the issue, because I know that during the public hearing, the leadership of the Customs Service had actually raised concerns about conflicts in terms of the legislation, literally this looks like it's going to put them out of business because the National Revenue Board will now be responsible, if I understand it properly, except I stand to be corrected, will now be responsible for collecting revenue on behalf of the federal government. So what does this mean? Does it mean now that no money will be passing through customs, or customs is part of the National Revenue Board? What exactly does this mean?
Well, what it means, to my mind, and I think what it should, is that there will be a representative in some cases of the National Revenue Service represented in government, called, I see the same government everybody is serving. I think the worry, from what I gathered following this report and this issue is that some agencies of government collect revenue which are not properly remitted to government. And cost of collection high. Thirdly, I've also noticed from the follow-up and the information gathered that the people collecting revenue is not their core mandate. Those who have the responsibility is FIRS or state IRS, as the case may be. Those who train revenue collectors should be saddled with the responsibility of collecting such revenue while they work technical men and women who are performing this. So when it comes to revenue, it should, in fact, it's also recommended that there should be a gateway system or electronic means of collecting this money directly, and it goes to the covers of government. And please, it should be noted that countries have different practices. Some countries, what Nigeria is trying to do is what they are already doing. And what we are doing today, which is what we are departing from, where agencies can collect, some other countries are also doing it. It's a matter of what pays a particular country. It should be said, we should increase our it should help increase our revenue by blocking cages that we currently have, so that we can improve revenue that should go to our federation, and by extension, the federal and state government, as well as the local government.
All right, let's get to a few more things, which I have always raised when we talk about this tax reform bill. And the magic, or the efficiency, if you will, and eventual effectiveness will be by fiscalization. Talk to us about the level of fiscalization compliance. That is the only way the tax authority will be able to catch who is lying and who is not. Because if everything is done electronically in terms of transaction, whether you're a small business or a medium-sized or big business, I'm sure big business will not have an issue with that. That is the only way the government will be making money from taxes and not be losing money based on some of the incentives they may be given and some of the sacrifices already made as far as businesses are concerned. So from where you sit as an economist in terms of assessment, how much of fiscalization has been achieved, even with what we have, that you think can help achieve the intent of this tax bill? Because all of this is optimization to drive productivity, not necessarily productivity.
I'll say that successive administration have made their input. To be very sincere with you, different governments have tried to improve our fiscalization. In recent memory, President Obasanjo had his own innovation to a tax system. President Yar'Adua, it didn't stay so long, but we can have President Jonathan to some of the unique things he did with FRS. Recently, we saw what President Buhari did, even to the point that it affected VAT rates, which is not bad, totally. And we are seeing what President Tinubu is doing. So I can tell you that successive administration have tried to improve on revenue collection method and amount collected. If you remember, one beautiful thing President Buhari did in his administration, to use this as example, among all of them, President Buhari had announced a tax of some sort under Ms. Tunde. I can't remember his name, a very popular, respected taxman that was the chairman of FRS at that particular point in time. What is this particular FRS doing? This FRS, this current one, is motivating his staff so that they can be more empowered possible to ensure that small businesses have some side of relief, because President Buhari also said that by cutting away some taxes from small businesses. So successive administration have tried their best possible. But what will be the game changer, which I hope this tax bill, when it becomes law, completely synchronizes? It will be, number one, how do we make taxes to be almost 100% digitalized? this will help us as a people. It will help our nation, and it will also help us subnational. And I also think that in doing this, the federal government should not leave the state and the local government behind. We need to have a synchronized system of tax collection, and those who should get their portion, it should go to them. I tell you, some states, which I recently interacted with, in less than 2 weeks ago, about 2 states, that some of them are still fighting to get royalties, Abuja, and a few other things from Abuja that are not getting to them. So we need to understand that at the end of the day, tax will not just be what the federation. Once you go to states, we go to them. But we will still have challenge. So the structure of our fiscal life, I think this bill is trying to help, and everybody is thinking, how can I get more from this alignment and readjustment? But one thing is clear, that for us to achieve it, we must work together as a people, recognizing strength and areas of weakness, not fighting those that are weak today. They don't know what tomorrow may hold. And those that are strong, without weakening their strength, to make them get better. And citizens of the country, we reap the benefit of paying more in terms, especially when there is justification.
All right, Dr. Paul, if I may comment.
Pay taxes. Such go into development, then the people will be happy that they are paying, and government really become interested in their well-being.
As we need to wind down, Dr. Paul, 2 questions, but I'll ask them one by one. If you can answer me in 1.5 minutes each. First, I guess you were talking about Tunde Fowler. Now that Mr. Taiwo Oyedele has done this great work, it's not a perfect document, but there's a lot of work. If you look at all the documents, there's a lot of input and consultations that were done. What now happens to that is committee?
Well, I'm not Mr. President, but if for him, I would advise that committee should have in midwifing what we have. He may not know is that our law, if passed into law, I will continue to maintain some of those tools. About 8 adjustments that I have recommended. I've seen these representative those adjustments which I've recommended, and I hope that the Senate will do them because it's very important. Those 5 are a good milestone. So what I would say is that we need to midwife this process, and the committees, I think the president may want to consider some level of retainership to help us midwife them, perhaps for another 1 to 2 years, for us to now understand what we are started. It will be building on what we currently have, not that we completely throw away FRS, no, maybe change of nomenclature and look at some of the good work that organization have done and improve on it. But I think it's important to have those who we have to midwife this process. And that is why I think that committee, remember that committee is a very large one, and a lot of things is good news. In case you don't know, you have not read the bill, for Manufacturing Association of Nigeria, is good with for quite a number of persons. What may be concerned to majority of Nigeria is what we have highlighted, and we're happy today that the representative have picked it up. So I don't think we should just throw them away and, we get people, especially professionals, use them after some time, everybody forget about them. I don't think this should be the case.
All right, Dr. Paul, if you can do this in 1 minute, there's a bit that was also part of what was done, that the tax is assessed in the currency of the transaction. I guess this means that if you do your business in Nigeria in dollars, we'll assess your tax in dollars. For those people who do business in dollars, sometimes using it as vibe. Is that what it means?
I think it's one of the best. It's of the best thing. I see. Tax should be assessed in the currency of transaction. It's one of the best things. I think we should access taxes in currency of transaction. If you are transacting with us in dollars, let's charge you also in dollars. Don't say because you have dollars and you now go to parallel market to access some other currencies. If you are transacting in dollars, then let us charge in dollars so that it goes to the vote. The currency with which you are transacting, Nigerians are buying things online and those things are coming in dollars, then you should pay us in dollars. Person that paid you in dollars. We're not witch-hunting. Nigeria is not witch-hunting anybody. You have collected the money, so you should pay the dollar equivalent as VAT, which you have collected, and it's not your money, man, or any other form of tax, the tax should come also in dollars so that we can truly know what should come to Nigeria. And the pressure, especially my main concern, and many have known now, is the, what do we call it now, the stability of our local currency. Because if it's not stable, I tell you, no bond stable. Until we make it stable, that is when we can have a clear life and become forward thinking as a people, and our economy can have that kind of.
All right, Mr. Paul Alaje, thank you so much for, I needed to put that bit because sometimes even online stores now sell things in dollars, so they should be ready to be paying taxes in dollars, perhaps. This is what it means. So everybody has to do the best they can to make sure they do the right thing. But thank you. Paul Alaje is the Chief Economist at SPM Professionals and is an economist. Thank you, sir, for coming on the program.